When you hear the word feijoada, what comes to your mind? The colorful bean stew is a Brazilian delight. The dish is so embedded into the culture of the people that Saturday is tagged the day of feijoada. The recipe may vary a little in different regions, but its unique taste will surely leave you wanting more. In today's video, we'll be bringing you a brief origin of the feijoada and all its side dishes. You do not want to miss any part of this video, so make sure you stay tuned and watch till the end. The name feijoada is derived from the Portuguese word feijão, meaning bean. Its Portuguese origin is one of the reasons why the dish became very popular across the country. Most people believe that feijoada was first made by slaves working on sugarcane plantations, who gathered together scraps of meat and cooked them with black beans. These scraps of meat were often pig ears, feet, and tails. This story is a bit controversial, as some historians later argued that scraps of meat were not easily available to the slaves. A closer look at the colorful feijoada also reveals that it shares more resemblance to the European stews. This simply means that the slaves were actually making feijoada for their masters and not for themselves. Furthermore, the presence of pig trotters, snout, ear, and tail casts doubt over the traditional feijoada origin story. This is because a larger number of African slaves in Brazil were Muslim and thus did not consume pork. Some culinary researchers have suggested that the feijoada we know today is little more than a combination dreamt up by elite Brazilian restaurants in the 19th century. Feijoada is more than just a dish. It's an event that can be shared with family and friends. Preparing a tasty feijoada takes some time and demands a good recipe, but the end result is always worth the effort. Apart from feeding a lot of people, feijoada also boosts two of the country's biggest agricultural production chains: pig rearing and bean farming. In fact, pork is the third most purchased meat in Brazil, behind chicken and beef. The dish of pork and black beans itself is largely associated with the southeast of the country, while the north, northeast, and center-west have their own regional variations of feijoada. Its ingredients are overwhelmingly cultivated and produced in the south. The states of Santa Catarina, Paraná, and Rio Grande do Sul are Brazil's largest pork producers, while the majority of black beans come from farms in Paraná. Now, getting the ingredients for feijoada might not be easy if you're not in Brazil, but the good news is that there are substitutes that you can get locally. For instance, we all know that there's a particular taste that a pot of black beans gives, but if all you have is canned beans, it can also be used. Dry black beans are more common and accepted in Brazil. All you have to do is rinse the canned beans and then substitute it at the rate of 1 to 3. This simply means that 1 cup of dried beans should be substituted for 3 cups of cooked or canned beans. If you're using canned beans, the cooking time will also vary. In addition, there will be no need for you to soak it overnight. Other substitutes include CARNE SECA or carne de sol. This is an air-dried, salted piece of beef, and it can be substituted with corned beef or boneless short ribs. Smoked calabrese sausage. This is a smoked, cured pork, also known as linguica. It's seasoned with garlic and paprika. Other smoked sausages that can be used in place of it includes kielbasa and andouille. Peio sausage. This is a smoked Portuguese sausage made of pork loin and seasoned with garlic, salt, and capsicum pepper. Substitute for smoked chorizo or another type of smoked sausage. Bacon. In the traditional recipe, slab of bacon was used in preparing feijoada. You can substitute it with thick-cut bacon from a supermarket. These substitutes should be your last resort, because there's something special about using the traditional ingredients themselves. When it comes to the cooking of black beans, bay leaves are very important. In fact, feijoada will not be complete without it. We also have the orange. The reason orange is added is not to season the dish, because you can barely taste the flavor after cooking. Oranges are added to cut some of the fat from the meats used. At the end of the process, when the grains are already cooked, the oranges are removed. When do people eat feijoada? Most Brazilian restaurants prepare feijoada and offer it on their menus on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Families are not left out either, as they also prepare it in social gatherings. Unlike some dishes that are specific to a particular class because of the price of the ingredients, feijoada cuts across all social classes, since it's a low-cost dish that any family can easily prepare. It's also noteworthy that in some parts of Brazil, feijoada is only served during winter months. However, there are some exceptions, like Rio de Janeiro, where the dish is served all year round. There are no rules to it. If you can cook it, then you can eat it. Why is feijoada a popular dish? The tastiness, complexity, and variety of the dish contributes greatly to its popularity. Another reason why feijoada is popular is the fact that the ingredients for making it are relatively cheap in Brazil. Brazilians have a soft spot for large meals, and this also makes feijoada a delight. Feijoada is enough to satisfy an individual for a whole day. What's feijoada served with? A good feijoada experience will not be complete without side dishes, which include rice, farofa, braised kale, torresmo, vinaigrette, orange slices, cerveja gelada, CAIPIRINHA, and guarana. Farofa is mostly made with wheat or cassava flour, seasoned and roasted in a pan until it has a texture similar to a crunchy crumble. It's common to add bacon, linguica, corn, and banana in the farofa. In short, it depends on the creativity of the cook. Farofa goes very well with feijoada because it adds crunchiness and texture. The Brazilian vinaigrette salsa is traditionally served with feijoada or any grilled meat, chicken, or fish. It's made with tomatoes, onions, bell peppers, vinegar, and olive oil. The Brazilian version of the salsa is different from what we have in Mexico. Mexicans use lime juice to bind it all together, while Brazilians use olive oil and vinegar. That's why it's called vinaigrette. There's one more thing you need to know about the Brazilian vinaigrette salsa. It's addictive. So while preparing it, it's advisable to not taste it until the food is served. Otherwise, you won't have any vinaigrette to serve with your meal. Then we have torresmo, which is one of the most common bar snacks in Brazil. Torresmo is the Portuguese word for pork skin that's been fried at high temperature to melt away the fat, then salted and dried. Other cultures have a unique name for it. In America, it's referred to as pork rinds, while in Mexico, it's called chicharrón. The origin of torresmo can be traced to Portugal, with the African slaves adding some seasoning touches to it. Besides serving it as a side dish with feijoada, torresmo is considered a snack to eat with drinks, most likely a beer or a shot of cachaça. If you've ever visited Brazil, then you must have heard of the classic caipirinha, which is the mother of all Brazilian cocktails. It's a delicious 3-ingredient drink that pairs very well with feijoada. Caipirinha can also be served with churrasco. Caipirinha is embedded into the social life and culture of Brazilians. Almost every Brazilian knows how to make a caipirinha. Just in case you don't know what's in it, it's made with limes, sugar, ice, and cachaça, a Brazilian distilled liquor made from the fermentation of raw sugarcane juice. As far back as 1918, the caipirinha combination was used to treat colds with the addition of garlic. Later on, the drink became so popular, garlic was no longer added, and it was taken in parties for fun. Because of the dish's reputation of being a heavy food, orange is typically served on the plate to eat after. It's commonly said that this fruit helps with digestion. The whole feijoada experience will not be complete without an ice-cold beer, cerveja gelada. The heat of Brazil's tropical and subtropical climate makes it a necessary refreshment. Feijoada is a dish that you'll fall in love with the very first time you try it. The variety it offers is equivalent to that of 7 dishes. Feijoada might not look very exotic, but the flavor covers up for the noble and traditional Brazilian dish.